Fire American football, hey Vikings Nation. If you thought NFL free agency was calm this year, think again. The league is absolute chaos right now. Blockbuster deals are flying everywhere. And while everyone is watching massive moves around the NFL, one Minnesota Vikings defender is quietly stealing the spotlight online. And trust me, what he's been doing has fans talking everywhere. But here's the question. While teams scramble to reshape their rosters, could the Minnesota Vikings already have a hidden defensive weapon that people around the league are starting to notice? Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing personalities on the roster, a corner who brings speed, attitude, and now a little bit of social media entertainment. Because while the rest of the NFL world is reacting to huge headlines, one Vikings player has been watching everything unfold in real time, and Vikings fans are loving every second of it. Let's break down what's happening with Rodgers and why this moment could tell us something important about the future of the Minnesota Vikings defense. Right now, the entire NFL feels like a whirlwind. Free agency has turned the league upside down, with huge contracts, surprising trades, and unexpected moves dominating every headline. Fans everywhere are glued to their phones trying to keep up with what might happen next. One of the biggest stories shaking the league recently involved superstar pass rusher Max Crosby, a move that sent shockwaves through the NFL world. At the same time, the Baltimore Ravens grabbed another major defensive weapon by landing Trey Hendrickson, making their pass rush even more terrifying. And while all of this madness was unfolding, one Minnesota Vikings player was watching closely and reacting just like the rest of us. Vikings cornerback Rodgers jumped online to comment on the wild state of NFL free agency, giving fans a glimpse into how players are experiencing this chaotic offseason. If you've followed Rodgers even a little, you know he's got personality. He's not just a fast corner on the field. He's someone who interacts with fans, jokes around online, and shows a side of players that we don't always get to see. Over the last few days, Rodgers has been extremely active on social media, responding to fans, sharing quick reactions, and even posting some hilarious images. One of the funniest moments involved a photo showing Vikings executive Rob Brzezinski wearing a chef's hat while cooking up roster moves in the background. In the image, Rodgers appears in full Vikings gear using a cell phone while Brzezinski stirs a pot like he's preparing the next big free agency recipe. Vikings fans immediately jumped into the comments, laughing at the idea that the team's cap wizard was literally cooking up the next move. Now, beyond the jokes and memes, there's a serious football story here too. When the Minnesota Vikings signed Rodgers, the move didn't grab massive headlines across the NFL. But inside the building, it was considered a very smart addition. Nobody expected Rodgers to become the next Darrelle Revis, one of the greatest cornerbacks of all time. But what the Vikings needed was a reliable, athletic defensive back who could complement their secondary, and Rodgers fits that role perfectly. Paired alongside Byron Murphy Jr., Rodgers gives the Minnesota Vikings a defensive backfield that can match up with some of the fastest receivers in the league. And with the recent addition of James Pierre, the depth at cornerback suddenly looks a lot more interesting. Speed matters more than ever in today's NFL. Offenses are full of receivers who run like Olympic sprinters, and if your defense can't match that speed, you're in serious trouble. That's exactly why Rodgers brings value to the Vikings defense. His speed allows him to stay stride for stride with explosive wide receivers, and that kind of athleticism is critical in a league built around passing attacks. When you combine that speed with the aggressive defensive system run by Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, you start to see why Rodgers could play a much bigger role moving forward. And the numbers from last season actually show just how important Rodgers already was for the Minnesota Vikings defense. In 2025, he played all 17 games and started 15 of them, becoming a key piece in the secondary. He logged an impressive 963 defensive snaps, which accounted for about 90% of the defensive plays during the season. On top of that, he contributed on special teams with another 72 snaps. Statistically, Rodgers delivered solid production as well. 66 total tackles. For tackles for loss, 1 interception. For passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and even 2 defensive touchdowns. Those kinds of impact plays are exactly what defensive coordinators love to see. One of the most memorable moments came early in the season when Rodgers intercepted a pass and returned it for a touchdown at US Bank Stadium, sending the Vikings crowd into a frenzy and completely shifting the momentum of the game. Those kinds of explosive defensive plays can completely change a game in seconds. It's the type of moment that energizes a stadium and reminds everyone why defensive playmakers are so valuable. And for Rodgers, those flashes of big playability are exactly what could make him even more important for the Minnesota Vikings going forward. Now let's go back to the social media side of things, because Rodgers' activity online has been getting plenty of attention. With over 40,000 followers, he's clearly aware that fans are watching what he posts. Everything started pretty calmly when the NFL's legal tampering period began on March 9th. Rodgers shared updates about internal Vikings moves and acknowledged that free agency had officially begun. But things got more entertaining when the jokes started rolling in. That now-famous image of Brzezinski cooking roster moves had fans laughing, and Rodgers leaned into the fun. At one point, he even clarified to fans that he wasn't secretly leaking insider information, posting a message that simply said he was just enjoying the moment and reacting like everyone else. When the shocking news about Max Crosby started spreading, Rodgers reacted the same way many fans did, tweeting something along the lines of, "Dang free agency crazy LOL." He also asked a curious question about how certain teams were managing their salary cap after all these massive signings, showing that even players are sometimes trying to figure out the same puzzles fans discuss every day. Meanwhile, NFL insider Albert Breer later confirmed that teams involved in those moves were indeed able to fit the contracts within their cap structures. But here's the bigger picture for Vikings fans. Rodgers himself went through the free agency process not long ago before landing in Minnesota, so he understands exactly how stressful and unpredictable this time of year can be. Now that he's settled into the Viking system, he appears comfortable, confident, and fully integrated into the defensive scheme built by Brian Flores. And that raises an interesting possibility for the future. If Rodgers continues to perform the way he did last season, could the Minnesota Vikings eventually look at giving him a contract extension? It's not guaranteed, but it's definitely something worth watching. A fast, experienced corner who already understands the defensive system can become extremely valuable for a team trying to build long-term stability. For now, though, Rodgers seems perfectly happy watching the chaos of NFL free agency unfold while having a little fun with Vikings fans online. And honestly, Vikings Nation, moments like this show why fans love players like Isaiah Rodgers. He brings energy on the field, personality off the field, and he clearly enjoys connecting with the fan base. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Isaiah Rodgers could become a long-term piece of the Minnesota Vikings defense? Or should the Vikings still look to add more talent at the cornerback position this offseason? Drop your thoughts in the comments because your opinion matters here in Vikings Nation. And if you love staying updated with the latest Minnesota Vikings news, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with every Vikings fan you know. Because the NFL offseason is just getting started, and trust me, there are plenty more Minnesota Vikings surprises coming soon. Skol. Purple Heart Fire American Football.